What do I think about Chambers and Mavropanos being our central defenders for next season? Look, I think both have shown promise this season, if I'll be honest. The Greek guy looks really, really good. I think he's going to be a real player for us over the next few seasons. But with Koscielny being out, we've got to bring in a central defender that's going to go alongside them for the experience side of it all. But I definitely see a future for both of them, and hopefully they will progress and be what we've always believed that. Well, definitely with Chambers, what we believe he can be, and yeah, but definitely need to bring in some experienced central defender to play alongside him. If we played Aubameyang and Lacazette up front, where would Ozil and Mkhitaryan play? Well, I think if we did go that sort of route, we'd have to, Mkhitaryan would have to go out wide, and we wouldn't be able to play a 4-4-2. We'd have to go 3-5-2 if we was to do that, but and play Mkhitaryan and Ozil just behind. But I think if we was to go with them two up front as a 2, then obviously either Mkhitaryan or Ozil would have to be on the bench. Would I like Marco Silva to be our next manager? If it's out of him and Arteta, then yes, I would, but no. I think that he's a good manager, to be honest. He's done really well, but I think it's looking like he's going to be going to Everton. So no, not for me. You know who I want. I hope the board are on the same hymn sheet as me. Shall I say who he's going to be like, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to say who he's going to be like, you know what I mean? So we all know it's Allegri. Henry's goal against Real Madrid, which we won, of course, in the Bernabeu 1-0, or Arshavon's goal against Barcelona when we won 2-1. Both great goals. I'm going to say that the Arshavon one, I went mad over because it was a great move and a great finish, and it was the atmosphere at the Emirates that day was fantastic. But because of it was more important. Because it was the quarter-finals of the Champions League. The Thierry Henry goal was a magical goal, and for the significance of what it was, it's Thierry Henry's goal for me. Well, out of all, I'm going to have to be honest. If I look back on who have Arsenal missed out on signings that I would have liked to have had, and we've been linked with Ronaldo, Messi, we've been linked with them all. But realistically, the one that I'm really upset about, and it really did annoy me, was the Suarez one with the 40 million and plus a pound. Frustrating, we needed him at the time, who knows what would have happened with that, and it really typified the Arsenal board, and that is the one that really gets on my goat. Hope to see what Arsene Wenger would say after he said he hoped he'd see us all again soon. I've got a little theory about that they're going to appoint a real bad manager, and he's going to come in, and we're going to be in a crisis after 6 months, and then Arsene Wenger's going to come back and everybody's going to want him back. But all jokes aside, no, it may be that it could be something like the England job and all that, or it might be that he's just going to come back as a fan, you know. Listen, whatever Arsene Wenger does, I wish him well, and I hope that he does well in whatever he does. Was I at first game at the Emirates? Now, if I'm quite right, I think it was the Champions League game when Eduardo scored, which I wasn't there. It was wasn't until the first Premier League game, which was against Aston Villa. So, I know we drew that game 1-0, but at this moment in time, I can't remember who got the goal, so I'm sure someone will remind me. So no, I wasn't there if my calculations are correct. Would Theo Walcott have gone up a level if another manager come in? Because it was probably too soft, I honestly believe that you could throw that a lot of the players. I think that they've had it too easy, not been pushed enough, if I'll be honest. I think that if Theo was probably, say, like a Manchester City at the moment, he would probably be doing just as well as Sterling. You know, I do feel there's a little bit of harshness on Theo, because he did pick up a lot of injuries along the way, and that's really stopped his progression, like a lot of Arsenal players. I do feel that there probably was another level. Whether Arsene Wenger is at fault for that or Theo himself, I don't know. It's just one of those things, and a little bit of disappointment that he never quite hit the heights that I feel that he should have done. And unbelievably, you know, he's never going to play in a World Cup. The only one he went to was that one when he was 17, when he was never going to play. If I could go back to any game that we've lost and change the result, well, I think the two that spring out to mind at the moment, and you know, would obviously be the Champions League final. That would be one. Definitely the Spurs semi-final in '91, which if we'd have won that, we'd have won the double. And then the other one that really pains me a lot is the cup final in 2001 against Liverpool, when we totally dominated that game. They should have had a player sent off, and Michael Owen scored those two late goals, so that's very, very disappointing and bitter. But yeah, they're the three that would stand out. Have I destroyed a garment purposely because they're a Tottenham fan? Stupid question. Question dismissed. Would I like a boring 0-0 draw or a 3-3 draw? The coach would say 0-0, but as a fan, 3-3. How do I think Steven Gerrard will cope as a manager? Listen, I think it's a fantastic appointment for Rangers. I think it's a good opportunity for him. At least he's going into a big club with lots of pressure, but not the Premier League. So I think it could be a good thing for him. I think he'd do okay, to be honest. I think he'd be all right. If I could swap 3 players from the Invincibles and put the current 3 current players in the team, we've just come 6th in the league, not won a trophy. I wouldn't swap any of them, and I'm not going to. You know what I mean? Like, not one of them would even get on the bench. Would I give Lucas Perez another go? To be honest, you know, Arsenal got to be ruthless, and I think he's a good squad player. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, he's never going to be really in the 11. So my answer would be no. Do I think the stewards are dickheads at the Emirates? Well, listen, they've got a job to do. They're obviously being told what to do, but I can't understand for the life of me that why they let people stand up behind the goal and then, like 5 rows to the right, say, you have to sit down. I don't understand that. You know, I know, like from being up in the upper tier, the experience there, you've got to sit down all the time. Obviously, for safety reasons, I can see what they're saying, but I think that it's a little bit too much. Would I say that they're dickheads? A little bit harsh. Who do I think were past and present players very good without the ball. Well, definitely none of the team now. They're absolutely awful without the ball. Thinking going back in time, players would Ray Parlour would definitely be one. Patrick Vieira, obviously, outstanding with and without the ball. Emmanuel Petit. Somebody like Ian Wright, when he didn't have the ball, was excellent with his runs and work rate. Brian Talbot was another one that I can remember. But certainly none of the present crop. So those sort of guys, I would say. Who is my favourite player to come through the academy? That would be Paul Merson. Who does a better review, Troops or DT? Right, I will say that Troops does know his stuff. He is very, very knowledgeable. With DT, he does, I have to say with DT, he does talk very, very well. And I can't adjourn this question because we're doing the adjourns later, so difficult one to say, but I'm going to say Troops. If I had to ask 3 questions to the board, what 3 questions would they be? The first question would be what is the real finance on the stadium? Second question would be how much money have we got in the transfer budget? And my third question would be, what would the club be looking to do to improve the atmosphere at the Emirates? Would I take Mahrez at Arsenal? Yes. If Arsenal hadn't gone unbeaten in the 2004 Invincible season, would Arsene Wenger gone on as long as what he did? Do you know what? It's a very, very good question. My personal opinion would be, but because of the move to the stadium and the restrictions that he had for those 5 or 6 years, I believe that it was right that he was given the opportunity. So regardless of what he'd done in the Invincible thing, I think that what he'd done from 2006 to 2012, he's underestimated. What he did is what he's done in the last 3 years that for me has meant that he's had to go. So from that point of view, I don't think it really did matter that we got that Invincible season. Okay, what we're going to do now is go back to the adjourned questions that I've had a little think about them. So we're going to go through them now, and hopefully I've got the right answers. Worst player right now at Arsenal, harsh question, but I have been forced to make my decision, and I'm going to go for Mustafi. Can't defend, and he's a defender. Would I take Conte if he left Chelsea, take him at Arsenal? I would do if we couldn't get Allegri. Who do I think is the best midfield partnership in Arsenal history? Patrick Vieira and Emmanuel Petit. Who do I think is the best finisher, Aubameyang or Lacazette? It's going to Aubameyang. What 4 people from Arsenal history would I have over for dinner? It would be Charlie Nicholas, Ian Wright, George Graham, and the late David Rocastle. Unfortunately, I never met David Rocastle, so that would be my 4. Who's the best Arsenal player never to play for their country? Very, very difficult one, this. I've been thinking about it. I can only come up with 3 players. If anybody can come up with some more players, I'd love to know. But the 3 that I come up with were Willie Young, Martin Hayes and Kevin Campbell. And I've decided to go for him, mate, Kevin Campbell. My favourite draw game. This is a very, very difficult question, and I've come up with a few, but I went with one in the end. I went thinking about the 2-2 at Chelsea when Silvinho scored a screamer in the last couple of seconds, last couple of minutes in the game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. The older supporters may remember this game when we played Leeds in the FA Cup. I'm 99% sure we played in the green and blue kit at the time, when Leeds scored in the 92nd minute in the FA Cup at Ellen Road, and then Graham Ricks scored an absolute scream of a free kick at the last kick of the game. I remember going mad over that one. But I'm going for the 0-0 at Old Trafford in 2003-2004 season. So it would have been in 2003 at Old Trafford when Van Nistelrooy missed the last minute penalty. Not the greatest game, but the significance of it all and what happened afterwards and all that, that's my favourite. In my opinion, the most underrated defender to play for Arsenal in my time, Nigel Winterburn. My 5-a-side team would be De Gea in goal. As a defender would be Van Dijk, De Bruyne, Mo Salah and Aubameyang up front. Right, next week what we're going to be doing is my all-time Arsenal 11. We'll be running through some of the players that obviously do get in it, but some of the players that don't. Also, if you want to ask a question, you can ask the judge, #AskTheJudge. I'll leave your comments below, and that's what we're going to be doing next week.